The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
All right, welcome to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. If you'd like to join the show, wow, what a weekend, man. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. We're not going to tarry. We're going to do Black Facts coming up here in just a moment. And I will tell you the rest of the show will be encompassed with the presidential race. I mean, we're fresh off of the Republican convention, which was a joke. What else did you expect? And then, of course, this Biden resigns and he gives it to Kamala Harris. And man, so much to talk about. Stick and stay, don't go away right now. We got to listen to Black Facts. And, this Black Facts is about how your children, your ancestors' children, were sold to support white schools. Hello? We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Back in a moment. It's called Black Facts right here on Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
Wondering whether you read the topic right or not? Yes, you did. Your eyes ain't playing tricks on you. That was how we also felt when we first heard about this part of history of the slavery era. One would think that he or she has heard the worst of dehumanization done to the African slaves exported from the motherland, until you heard of a new low. The readily referenced instance in history is that of the southern U.S. state of Louisiana, where it was even passed as a law. Before we go further in this video, we want to remind you to sit back with all the interest you could muster on this one, for we bring to you true history, how African children were not spared in the slavery experience even until this day, in spite of abrogation of the inhumane system. While we are at it, support our work by kindly hitting the thumb button. Share with friends and families to keep spreading our eye-opening Black narrative. And subscribe to stay with us for more interesting and revealing videos. Come, let us delve in. In 1848, Louisiana state legislatures passed a law declaring that all children born in the penitentiary to African Americans serving life sentences would become property of the state. The women would raise the children inside the prison until the age of 10, at which point they would be auctioned on the courthouse steps. Many of the buyers were prison officials, including heads of the company that ran the penitentiary. The proceeds were used to fund schools for white children. Before the Civil War, most prisoners in the South were white. The punishment of enslaved African Americans was generally left up to their owners. Louisiana, however, did imprison enslaved people for serious crimes, generally involving acts of rebellion against the slave system. A number of these imprisoned slaves were women. Penitentiary records show a number of women imprisoned for assaulting a white, arson, or attempting to poison someone, most likely their enslavers. Some of these female prisoners became pregnant, either by fellow inmates or prison officials. It was the children given birth to by these female prisoners that got auctioned to fund white children's schools. Unknown to many, prison labor was established as a temporary solution, and it was introduced to cater to whites from Britain who were mostly convicts shipped to Americas to serve their sentences. Before the American Revolution, Britain used America as a dumping ground for its convicts. In 1718, Britain passed the Transportation Act, providing that people convicted of burglary, robbery, perjury, forgery, and theft could, at the court's discretion, be sent to America for at least 7 years rather than be hanged. The convicts were chained below ship decks and brought across the sea by merchant entrepreneurs, many of whom were experienced in the African slave trade. Just a few companies dominated the business, and they charged British authorities up to £5 for the transport of each convict. But the fee was not enough to entice merchants to cross the Atlantic, so Parliament granted contractors property and interest in the service of felons for the duration of their banishment. This meant that merchants could auction their human cargo into involuntary servitude under private masters, usually for work on tobacco plantations. Planters often preferred convicts to slaves. They were cheaper, and because they served limited terms, they didn't have to be supported in old age. Approximately 1/4 of all British immigrants to America in the 18th century were convicts.
I leave the old county. I'm sold off to Georgia.
Then came the privatization of the penitentiary. In the early 19th century, the United States was exporting more cotton than all other nations combined. The frontier was constantly expanding, opening up more land for cotton, and it seemed impossible to lose money on real estate. New Orleans had the densest concentration of banking capital in the country, and money poured in from Northern and European investors. Then, in 1837, the bubble burst, sending the United States into its first Great Depression. Louisiana needed money, and the penitentiary became a target for belt-tightening. In 1844, the state privatized the penitentiary, leading it to a company called Manhattan, Pratt, and Ward. The company was responsible for the operations of the prison, including feeding and clothing inmates, and it could use inmate labor toward its own ends. The company put inmates to work from dawn till dusk in the penitentiary's textile factory. These men laid aside all objects of reformation, one prisoner wrote, and reinstated the most cruel tyranny to eke out the dollars and cents of human misery. Men who couldn't keep up with the work were beaten, scourged, and whipped, sometimes to death. There was therefore the need for Louisiana to generate as much money from the prisoners for the penitentiary private management company, and, more so, still have something left for the state. Hence, one of the readily considered solutions was to auction out children of enslaved female prisoners, and as if this was not heinous enough, to thereafter use such proceeds to develop schools for white children was another low. At the age of 10, these children were auctioned to the highest bidder, with the proceeds going to the state treasurer as part of the Free School Fund. Sales records between 1842 and 1862 for the East Baton Rouge County, for the process classified as sheriff sale records, indicate that 11 children were taken from their mothers at the state penitentiary and auctioned on the steps of the county courthouse in Baton Rouge. Records also indicate that penitentiary officials who owned plantations purchased several of the auctioned children, who were made to start hard labor on plantations at such very early ages. More than a century and a half after, one would have expected the fate of people, and especially children of color, to be better. Sadly, the situation has not been much different. Aside from the official abrogation of slavery, slave trading, and the recognition of freeborn for all people of color and their children, still suffer racial injustices based on their skin color and ethnicity. For decades, the N-word was freely used. Though it has been officially disallowed in the U.S. and other countries, its usage in unofficial and inner circles is an open secret. Similarly, many other ethnic slurs are also still being used in people's inner circles, and sometimes publicly when they can get away with it. Slurs such as rigging, alligator bait or gator bait in short for black children, ape, Aunt Jemima or Aunt Jane or Aunt Mary or Aunt Sally for black women in contrast to Uncle Tom for black men. Year in, year out, ethnic mockery has come to become a thing. Even with the introduction and public acceptance of February as the Black History Month in the U.S. and Canada, The United Kingdom and Ireland celebrate Black History Month in October. Unfortunately, rather than entrenching the ideals on which the celebration was meant for, February is fast becoming the month in which most of the ethnic mockery now happens. And guess what? The supposedly abolished slave auction is now digital and internet-enabled. Reported cases of Black students being put up for mock auctions have been in the media for a while and until very recently. So much so that it's giving the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, great concerns. In February this year, 2024, the local chapter of NAACP at Greater Springfield, Southwick, Massachusetts, had to push for an investigation in the Southwick Regional Public School District after reports of racially charged bullying at their local high school, with allegations that white students held an online slave auction to bid on their Black classmates.
We want the school district to take these allegations seriously,
said Bishop Talbert Swan, the Springfield NAACP president. Weeks into a month for the supposed celebration of Black history, there were reports of possible racially charged discrimination against Black Southwick Regional High School students. Speaking with reporters about the alleged incidents that included white students holding an online slave auction, as well as use of derogatory racial remarks against a Black female student, Talbert Swan said,
in 2024, for that type of behavior to be going on among teenagers lets us know that we have a myriad of problems, one of them being the fact that racism is being passed down from generation to generation.
The local NAACP branch sent a letter to school district leaders, including the principal of the high school, and Jennifer Willard, the superintendent of the Southwick Tolland Granville Regional School District, to demand an investigation into these alleged incidents of racial bullying.
We want them to be concerned about the well-being and the safeguarding of the student instead of their reputation,
said Bishop Swan.
This is time for course correction, not CYA behavior.
These allegations aren't the first time the district has run into problems. In 2022, there were reports of racial vandalism in one of the men's bathrooms at the school. At the time, in an email to parents, the principal called it one of the most disrespectful and hateful acts that he witnessed on campus. As history seems to repeat itself, Bishop Swan said it's time to take action.
The dignity of human beings should take place 12 months out of the year,
added Bishop Swan.
But we do put a special emphasis on the month of February. To have to deal with young men engaging in this type of racist, disrespectful type of behavior during this time is reprehensible.
Responding to the incident, Hampton District Attorney Anthony Gallooni took to Facebook to address the issue. He wrote that 6 juveniles were criminally charged in the Southwick racial bullying incident. He authorized members of his office's Massachusetts State Police Detective Unit and the chief of the Juvenile Court Unit to pursue criminal charges against 6 juveniles for their alleged roles in facilitating and participating in a hateful, racist online chat that included heinous language, threats, and a mock slave auction. Gallooni shared that hatred and racism have no place in the community.
I will ensure that we act, and act with swift resolve as we did here to uncover it and bring it to the light of justice,
he stated. Going further, he pointed out that the alleged behavior of the 6 students is vile, cruel, and contemptible. He further emphasized that seeing such ugliness among middle school students is discouraging, unsettling, and deeply frustrating. The juveniles have been charged with the following. 1 juvenile has been charged with interference with civil rights, threat to commit a crime, and witness interference, and 4 other juveniles have each been charged with threat to commit a crime, he explained. CNN also shared a video that shows an interview with Allison Lopez, mother of one of the victims. In the interview, the reporter says that she cannot believe Lopez's daughter had to go through this horrifying and shocking incident. In reply, Lopez shares that her kid has experienced a different level of trauma. The mom also explains that it's hard for her daughter as she is still struggling. This incident sent a shockwave among netizens. Many were in disbelief at this bullying incident, and a few also suggested how parents should be held responsible for their children's behavior.
Parents of these kids should be charged with mandatory social work and racial courses. They are the main ones responsible for the education of these kids.
Posted an Instagram user.
They should have been expelled and face criminal charges.
Added another.
It starts with the parents and support system. Kids don't just randomly pick up racism on their own.
Joined a third commenter, sharing the same sentiment as the others.
Calling it the incident doesn't even cut close. This is criminal behavior.
Wrote a fourth. In 2022, a similar incident was reported in North Carolina as black students were allegedly sold at a mock slave auction by their white classmates at a school. Ashley Palmer, mother of a child in the school, posted about the shocking incident on Facebook at a school in Chatham County.
Our son experienced a slave auction by his classmates, and when he opened up, we were made aware that this type of stuff seems to be the norm, so much that he didn't think it was worth sharing. His friend went for $350, and another student was the slave master because he knew how to handle them. We even have a video of students harmonizing the N-word. Since when were children so blatantly racist? Why is this culture acceptable?
She updated the situation a few days later that the students involved only received a one-day suspension for their actions. She also took part in a news conference a few days later with a local civil rights group and then met with the Chatham County Assistant Superintendent. The superintendent also apologized for the incident and ordered changes to prevent similar activities from happening again.
I want to offer an apology to every single student who has ever felt unsafe while in our care, to every student who has ever felt demeaned, disrespected, or marginalized because of their race, ethnicity, sex, gender, religion, or disability.
Superintendent Anthony Jackson said. At Monday's Board of Education meeting, he made recommendations for immediate policy revisions, training, and additional resources in response to recent racial incidents in the district.
The Chapel School in Westchester County will implement changes to hiring practices, financial aid guidelines, and other aspects of the elementary school after 2 incidents of a mock slave auction held there,
announced State Attorney General Letitia James. March 2019 was the turn of New York as a teacher at the private Lutheran school in Bronxville asked all of the African American students in her 2 fifth-grade social studies classes to raise their hands, and then instructed them to exit the classroom and stand in the hallway. The teacher then placed imaginary shackles on the students' necks, wrists, and ankles, according to James. Black students were told to line up against a wall. The teacher then pretended to hold a slave auction in front of the class. The teacher was fired following an investigation by the State Attorney General's office. Complaints against the school were not new, according to James. Parents had taken up issues with the school's lack of racial sensitivity, unequal discipline of students on the basis of race, a lack of racial sensitivity and awareness in school curricula, and a lack of diversity among the teaching faculty. The agreement requires the school to do the following. Number 1, hire a chief diversity officer, subject to the Attorney General's approval. Number 2, develop and submit a staff diversification plan proposing steps the school will take annually to increase minority representation among the school's teaching faculty. Number 3, commit new financial aid to maintain and increase diversity within the student body. Number 4, submit a new code of conduct, subject to the Attorney General's approval, governing all school community members and specifically addressing racial and ethnic discrimination and harassment, as well as other prohibited behaviors. Number 5, submit a school discipline reform plan intended to ensure equal application of disciplinary techniques to all students, with an emphasis on providing constructive feedback and teaching alternative or replacement behaviors to students. Number 6, identify and retain a diversity consultant to assist the school in developing training protocols to train students and school employees on racial or ethnic diversity and sensitivity in the educational setting, with training to follow no less than twice per academic year. Number 7, create a formal complaint procedure that students or parents may use to notify the school of complaints regarding harassment or discrimination and publicize the new procedure to school community members, and maintain records of complaints, investigations of complaints, and the implementation of other elements of relief in the agreement. Whereas in 2017, outrage of parents at a New Jersey school after white students held a reenactment of a slave auction of a black child during class could not yield any result. It was simply excused by a spokeswoman for the South Orange Maplewood School District outside New York, who said that the assignment was not authorized by the district. Spokeswoman Suzanne Turner said that a substitute teacher was in charge of the class at the time, and the district was looking into training and improved supervisory protocols for substitute teachers. The mock slave auction happened in the same district, where students created posters for slave auctions as part of a curriculum about the colonial era. Superintendent John Ramos said at a board meeting that there was no intent to be demeaning in either assignment. Not to bore you, above instances cited so far are just few among the many that have been recorded over years in many states in the United States and beyond. Many people are of the opinion that there are even more instances that didn't make it to public knowledge, which is why many have questioned that, with the sort of a slap on the wrist kind of punishment for ethnic and racism bullying among school-age children. And in schools, how do we expect such occurrences to reduce or get eradicated? As many people, especially online, have expressed, it's the lack of or poor punishments for ethnic mockery and bullying, especially beyond the children to include their parents and guardians, that is inadvertently encouraging the behaviors. It is therefore imperative of right advocacy groups, such as NAACP and Child's Rights, to intensify campaigns for stiffer state, provincial, and national legislations to discourage ethnic mockery and bullying. Many believe that with the track records of NAACP, especially in legal matters and legislation influence, the body should be able to do this if it sets its attention to it. It is worthy of mention that almost all, if not all, of the civil rights legislations in U.S. history have the fingers of NAACP on them, directly or indirectly. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, is the oldest civil rights organization in the United States. It was created in 1909 to work for equal rights for African Americans and other minority groups. The NAACP is known at least to have fought discrimination in schools, the workplace, and public places. Its goal is to end racism, the belief that one group of people is better than other groups. Members of the NAACP try to make sure that everyone is treated equally under the law. They ask the U.S. Congress to pass new laws to guarantee that equal treatment. In this way, they act to ensure the civil rights of all citizens. Civil rights are those that are granted by the laws of the country. These include the right to vote and to own property. The NAACP's most famous success is the U.S. Supreme Court decision in the case of Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. In 1954, lawyers for the NAACP argued that segregation in public schools should end. The justices of the court agreed and ruled that segregation was illegal. As a result, black children could attend the same schools somewhat as white children. The NAACP played an important role during the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Its members helped to organize the March on Washington, a large demonstration for civil rights, in 1963. The NAACP also asked Congress to pass the Civil Rights Act in 1964 and the Voting Rights Act in 1965. Presently, the organization has more than 2,200 local units across the United States. On a final note from us, Black Journals, we suggest to teachers and educators wishing to illustrate or teach students about slavery and the dark era to use from the plenty but less offensive media available in the public domain. But if they must be graphic and depict with students' participation, they should be creative, like taking a blind draw for which students take up which roles, such that white-skinned students may end up being among those acting the roles of the enslaved. The objective is to understand how dastardly and inhumane the slavery system was. The notion that only colored-skinned students should and can only play the enslaved roles is not only insensitive but profiling. That brings us now to the end of yet another interesting video segment. And if you did learn a thing or two, give us a shout out in the comment section where you can share thoughts, and you best believe we would be happy to receive it. Support our works by hitting that thumb button, share with family members and friends to keep spreading our eye-opening Black narrative, and kindly subscribe to keep getting notifications. We are delighted to have you. Thank you.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio for more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people on joynetradio.com.
All right, welcome back to the show, Black Facts. I hope you enjoyed that. Please support Black Facts. If you would like to sponsor Black Facts, give me a call at 615-554-0568. We'd love to have sponsorship. We need sponsorship. So let's get this popping, if that's okay with you guys. All right, just call me. We'll write the commercials for you. We'll put it all out for you. We'll voice it. It could be me, someone at Joinette, or I have some other people that can voice overs as well. So just give me a call. We'll hit that up in just a moment. So we got to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about. Certainly we're going to talk about the passing of the mantle by Joe Biden to Kamala Harris. Certainly a surprise. We've been hearing a lot about him stepping down. I'll give you my reasons why. I'm going to ask you the question, do you think she can win? That's the one thing that we need to be wondering, or at least pondering right now. Can she win? And the other thing, will Donald Trump debate Kamala Harris? And I'm going to tell you why he'd be a damn fool if he did. Okay? All of that and more. We got to take a break. Back in a moment. It's Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on JoinetteRadio.com.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at JoinetteRadio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to JoinetteRadio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about JoinetteRadio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event, or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at JoinetteRadio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on JoinetteRadio.com. David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub and Rib Nuts. Go to ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com right now, and stock up on the best dry marinades for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats. 3 great flavors, hot and spicy, original, and scorching. Try them at your next cookout and you will shout, bake it, grill it, shake it, oh yeah! Only one place to get Coleman's Dynamic products, that's ribrub.com. Easy to order, and I'll ship direct to you or to friends and family anywhere in the United States. While on the site, be sure to check out other great items, especially the rib nuts. Who'd have thunk it? Peanuts sauteed in a barbecue marinade? That's just crazy good. Get them at ribrub.com right now, along with other great recipes. That's ribrub.com. If you don't like my rib rub or rib nuts, I'll give you money back. Do it today. That's Coleman's Dynamic Products at ribrub.com. Listen! Did you miss Dr. Ernest Gill from UT San Antonio?
When you're making $455 million off these student athletes and all you can come up with is $5,000, John Calipari makes $8 million a year, and his players are going to get $5,000 a year. The majority of these teams were white men and white males and females. Would this be happening? And I would say no, because their families wouldn't let it happen. But we're letting our kids get pimped.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on JoinetteRadio.com.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us, man. It's been a whirlwind weekend. Certainly, as you may know by now, Joe Biden has dropped out of the race. He has passed the torch to Kamala Harris. We'll be hearing more about Kamala Harris as the days go on. The questions as it relates to who will be the VP nominee with Kamala Harris. Will there be a challenge from others in the Democratic Party? You know, at this late date, I would probably say no. And if the Democrats are smart, they would avoid that if at all cost. This convention is coming up is in Chicago, Illinois. It has a history. The Democratic convention has a history of violence, particularly in Chicago. So hopefully they can coalesce around Kamala Harris. So we'll see how that plays out. But a lot of stuff to talk about today. I don't really know where to start. I guess the question is, let's start with Joe Biden, okay? And why I think he dropped out, okay? Now, just listening to some of the reports today, it is said that Biden didn't feel like he could battle on two fronts. And those two fronts were against the Republican Party and against his own party, who many people have over the last, well, at least since the debate, have been debating whether or not Biden should get out of the race. And it came to fruition, and I'm going to be totally honest. When I heard that Biden had contracted COVID, I said it was over. At that point, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I stopped following the news. There was nothing else for me to understand. There was nothing else to talk about. As far as this race was concerned, that once they said that Biden had contracted COVID, we knew then that, at least I knew, the race was over. So the funny thing about it, when you go back, it all started with really Donald Trump saying that Biden was too old to be president. Now, the irony is that Donald Trump is too old to be president. Donald Trump is what? Isn't he 77, 78? By the time the next 4 years is up, he'll be 81. Minimum. If Biden is dropped out of the race because of his age, because really his problems were his age. His problems were his stuttering, the debate, you could barely understand what he said. He had a press conference that didn't go very well either. Look, Donald Trump is having the same problems. So if Biden is too old to run for president, then isn't it time for Donald Trump to drop out of the race? Here's a guy that's been walking around with a maxi pad on his ear. What kind of, here's a guy who's been saying he took a bullet. He didn't take a bullet, he was grazed. We hadn't even talked since the attempted assassination. This guy's no hero. Anyone who thinks he is a nut. And just to prove it, just go back and look at some of the pictures from the Republican National Convention last week. You had people sitting in the audience with the maxi pads on their ear. You did. Go. Don't believe me. When I saw shots of some of those people, I said, what the hell? And then here's Donald Trump sitting up in his little booth with a maxi pad on his ear. Come on, man. Come on, man. It's not that bad. And for people to be following him like that, y'all are a bunch of idiots. So if you're going to tell me that Biden is too old to run for president, to be president of the United States, then you've got to tell me that Donald Trump is too old to be president of this United States. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no debate here. Donald Trump is too old to be president of the United States. And you know what? Kamala Harris should use that as her, guess what? One of her campaign attacks. There are many ways she can go. We'll get into that here in just a moment, but let's stick with Biden here for a moment, because it began at the debate. Of course, where it began when, and here's the other thing that really annoyed me about this argument, is that the media took this argument by Donald Trump and ran with it. Not even saying anything about, well, you know, Mr. President, you 77, 78. You pretty old your damn self. And by the way, you had a campaign rally talking about batteries and sharks. Come on. So the media took it on the Biden side, and every time you listen to some of them, all they were talking about, well, you know, President Biden, they're saying that you're too old. They don't ask Trump that. Now let's be totally honest. Trump doesn't do mainstream media. Because guess what? If he does mainstream media, then he's going to be called out on his lies. He won't do Morning Joe. He won't do MSNBC. He won't do CNN because he knows he's a liar. And he'll be called out on all of that stuff. Because the question is definitely appropriate here. Joe Biden is 81 years old. I'm going to be totally honest. Didn't really want him to be president again myself. I just didn't. But you didn't have a choice. As I've been saying for a while, is that you must vote for democracy. And by voting for Joe Biden, it was a vote for democracy. That's how I looked at it. That's how I looked at it. And by the way, I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. So my vote was for, or is for, or going to be for, the party that is for democracy. And that party is certainly not the Republican Party, as we talked about on the last show with this Project 2025, okay? So the media took it and ran with it. The Biden administration didn't really have a comeback for it, and they couldn't because at the end of the day, he was 81 years old. He was old. He is old. I hate to say that. I'm 63. It's amazing. Hey, they'll be putting me out the pasture here real soon. And, oh, Grandpa, you need to go on somewhere and sit down. It's inevitable. LeBron, he'll turn 40 by the end of next season. At some point, as great as he's played over the last year was amazing. As a matter of fact, over the weekend, hit the game-winning shot against South Sudan. That's another story for the Weekly Sports Magazine. Still don't know why they were down 1 point late in the game and still almost lost that game at the end, too. But anyway, Father Tom catches up with all of us. It has caught up with Joe Biden. And you know what? It has caught up with Donald Trump as well. Let's be realistic. And here's what really pushed me over the edge about this. I was talking to my son, and my son is 30-something. After he watched the debate, he basically said, it's over. He said, Joe Biden's old. This is what young people are saying. Joe Biden is old. And he is. So after the debate, it was done for a lot of people. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't watch the full debate. I just simply couldn't. I can take about 2 to 3 minutes of Donald Trump. And I know I'm a reporter, but see, when you know what someone's going to say, it's not even necessary to continue the conversation. And I wasn't going to listen to him lie over and over again. And then the fact that Joe Biden was not even able to challenge him in a debate, I was like, man, what is this? I can't watch this. And I turned it off. I got the highlights. I wasn't going to sit there and watch it. It was too painful. It really was. Okay? So you didn't respond in the debate. You had the news conference. And by the way, the debate was set up by the Biden administration. Their whole goal was to prove to Donald Trump and the American public that even though he was 81 years old, he still could be president of the United States. This was something that they plotted, and they thought that this was going to be something as a positive and that would help their campaign. And he fell flat on his face. Yeah. He did. Then the news conference. Not much better. And the last thing that really, the straw that broke the camel's back for me, and I kept saying that, you know what? He can still win. I said up until a few days ago when word got out that Joe Biden had COVID. He's 81 years old. He's got COVID. Right now, he's sequestered at his home. He's not even doing any events. He was supposed to be meeting with Netanyahu this week. That may not happen, and if it happens, it'll be video. And certainly after all of that, all of the Democrats were out. Well, I won't say all, but many of them were out last week, the last couple of weeks, talking about Joe Biden should step aside for the benefit of the party. A lot of them were saying that. A lot of prominent Democrats, a lot of backers, the money people were saying that. And what Joe Biden said is, I can't fight the Democratic Party and Donald Trump. So from what I understand, on Friday night, there was some type of poll that I don't know if he commissioned, but was done, because I take Joe Biden at his word. And I think Biden really loved, let me take that back. I'm not going to say I think. I think Biden really let me take it back. Biden really loves America. This man lost a son. He's watched a son. Here's what would really be sweet. That before he leaves office, that he gives his son a pardon. Why not? Okay, but that's another side story. But I think Biden really loves America. We've seen it. Yeah, there have been some issues with him as a politician over the years. Crime bill is one of them. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I think this man really loved America, and his concern was beating Donald Trump, because if the Democrats lose the White House and Congress and the Senate, this country is going to be looking totally different in the next 4 years, and it's not going to be pretty for a lot of us. And I said us. I'm included in that as well. So at the end of the day, Biden looked at it and said, hey, I've got to go. And I think he made the right choice. I really do. Here is Joe Biden's statement. Okay? Because I think this was important for him to go ahead and do it when he did. Dated July 21st. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for our seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances. Passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy. And we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in a more detail about my situation. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all of those who have worked so hard to see me re-elected. I want to thank them. Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed on me. I believe today what I have always, that there is nothing America can't do. And we can do it together. We just have to remember, we are the United States of America. That is Joe Biden's statement after his resignation. Now, from what I understand, Friday night, Joe was concerned about America. He's still concerned about America. That's part of the reason he felt like he had to run again. There was a poll apparently commissioned. I have not seen the poll as of yet, but apparently this poll, and apparently Kamala Harris didn't know about it. There were a lot of people on the inside did not know about this poll or a couple of polls. And the poll was a matchup between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And the poll had Kamala Harris winning from the reports. So we'll see how that plays out. That's why Joe decided that at that point, not being able to fight both the Democrats who are calling for his resignation and getting evidence that Kamala Harris would be a formidable foe against Donald Trump and would possibly win this election. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Donald Trump decided that he would acquiesce and resign the nomination. I think it's a great idea. We'll take a break. We got more when we come back. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on Joynet Radio.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at JoynetRadio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to JoynetRadio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about JoynetRadio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at JoynetRadio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on JoynetRadio.com. David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub and Rib Nuts. Go to ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com right now, and stock up on the best dry marinades for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats. 3 great flavors, hot and spicy, original, and scorching. Try them at your next cookout and you will shout, bake it, grill it, shake it, oh yeah! Only one place to get Coleman's Dynamic products, that's ribrub.com. Easy to order, and I'll ship direct to you or to friends and family anywhere in the United States. While on the site, be sure to check out other great items, especially the rib nuts. Who'd have thunk it? Peanuts sauteed in a barbecue marinade? That's just crazy good. Get them at ribrub.com right now, along with other great recipes. That's ribrub.com. If you don't like my rib rub or rib nuts, I'll give you money back. Do it today. That's Coleman's Dynamic Products at ribrub.com. Listen! Did you miss Dr. Ernest Gill from UT San Antonio?
When you're making $455 million off these student athletes and all you can come up with is $5,000, John Calipari makes $8 million a year, and his players are going to get $5,000 a year. The majority of these teams were white men and white males and females. Would this be happening? And I would say no, because their families wouldn't let it happen. But we're letting our kids get pimped.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on JoynetRadio.com.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683. It's a number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. We're talking about the resignation of Joe Biden as it relates to the Democratic nominee who had we've seen where Biden had won the nomination, but now he is resigning from that post. He will stay on and seek out his term. Representative Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is telling Biden he needs to resign the presidency since he's not going to run for a re-election, which is stupid. I mean, these Republicans are just so damn stupid. Let me take it back. The Rethuglicans are so damn stupid. It's ridiculous. This is why I've been telling you all that you have to go out and vote for democracy. These people are nothing more. Here's what they're setting up. They're setting up, or trying to set up, this system where everybody else is serfs and peasants, and only a few rich people are going to benefit. That's what all this Project 2025 is all about. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. Next hour, when we come back, I'm gonna tell you how I think Kamala Harris can win this. Is the genius behind this is it happened before the Democratic National Convention. And so far from what we've understood, at least from what I've heard and read, that many of the Democrats are already coalescing behind Kamala Harris, which is good. All right? It really doesn't need to be a fight on the floor. Okay? At this point, now look, we know the Democrats, they can't stand prosperity. There they were screaming and hollering that Joe Biden should resign, should not run, should step out of the race. Never did I even hear a name, and JC Love and I on JC Love's morning show, we talked about this last week. There's not even a plan. There was no plan. Those people who were calling for Joe Biden to resign, they had no plan as far as who would take over that spot. None whatsoever. No plan. So the question is, what were they gonna do? It's kind of like the dog who chases the car. Okay, he catches the car. What you gonna do now, dog? What you gonna do? All right. So now you've gotten what you wanted. Joe Biden stepped out of the race. If you're smart, you will coalesce around Kamala Harris, because I believe she can win this race. But what you don't want at the Democratic National Convention in a couple of weeks, you fighting on the floor. You want to make this smooth. You want to make this happen. I'm not saying cancel all debate. I'm just simply saying you need to pay attention to what's going on. You got to read the room. And right now, I personally think that this move brings young people back to Biden administration. I do. I think it brings back to the Biden administration. So let me just read you an article. Dozens of Hill Democrats back Harris. Okay? Dozens of them. So, let's see. Senator Chuck Schumer and House Democrat Hakeem Jeffries both praised Biden in statements following the president's announcement and did not explicitly mention Harris. That doesn't matter. She's going to get that nomination. Here is, let's see. Washington State Democrat Patty Murray, who is president pro temp of the Senate, says she respects Biden's willingness to pass the torch and went on to endorse Harris for president. We must beat Trump, and I know Kamala Harris can win. I am behind Vice President Harris 100%. She's exactly the woman we need to prosecute the case against Donald Trump, save American democracy, lead the fight to restore abortion rights, and build an economy that puts working people, not billionaires, first. I would do everything I can to help elect Kamala Harris as our next president. Ted Lieu, vice chair of the Democratic caucus, also endorsed Harris on Sunday. 4 years ago, I was the first member of Congress to endorse Kamala Harris for president. So honored to endorse Kamala Harris again for president. Okay. It just goes on and on and on. So we're beginning to see the Democrats coalesce behind Kamala Harris. This is what you need to do. I think Patty Murray's statement is probably the most profound, because Kamala Harris has been out here fighting. And next hour, at the top of the hour, I'm going to talk a little bit about why Donald Trump don't want to debate her. So here's what Patty Murray said. Here's another, this is just a sentence. She is exactly the woman we need to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. There's one word in there that stands out to me, and that word is prosecute. Now, that's not in a court sense of the word. That is in a, I would consider a plan of action sense of the word, if you understand my meaning. We'll get into all of that next hour. All I'm saying to the Democrats at this point, Biden has done some great things. Look, take your hats off to him. He's done, well, let me take that back. He's done some good things for the American people. You know, was there some other things that could have been done? No doubt about that. No doubt about that. But here's one thing I understand about politics, is that you're not going to always get what you want. Okay? You're not going to always get what you want. You've got to accept what he is and deal with what he is. And get what you can when you can. Okay? That's what you have to do. So, at the end of the day, I want to say, thank you, Joe Biden. I appreciate you stepping aside. You needed to at this point. And I think now the race is wide open again, man. It's wide open. This brings back a lot of people. A lot of people. And especially a lot of young people who had already zoned out. Who had already zoned out. Kamala Harris, can she win? She would be the first woman president of the United States and the first, isn't it ironic, the first black female president of the United States. Will women get behind her? Will black women get behind her? Will feminists get behind her? We're going to try to answer some of those questions next hour. This is so fascinating. I mean, this is what you love about being a talk show host. The stories have written themselves, and all you have to do is analyze them, as we are going to do. Next hour, the question is, can Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump? And will Donald Trump be willing to debate Kamala Harris? And I'll tell you why he's a damn fool if he does. But then again, we already know he's a damn fool. So if you're already a damn fool, what are you after that when you do something else stupid? I'm going to tell you. He won't be debating. He won't be debating Kamala Harris. I'll tell you about that all next hour. We've got to take the top of the hour break. I hope you're enjoying the show. Make sure you tell somebody, like the show, share the show, spread, and subscribe to the show. We're trying to get our listenership up. You can also catch the show on YouTube. We upload the show to YouTube after every show that we do. So you can go out and catch not just this show, but all the other shows that we've done over the last few years. Quite a few of them are out there. So just check the date. I think no matter what show you click on, you're going to enjoy it no matter what. Because we bring it. That's why we call ourselves Black Focus, because we deal with our issues. We deal with our solutions, and we listen to our voices. We got to take the top of the hour break. We'll be back in a moment on JoyNetRadio.com.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at JoyNetRadio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to JoyNetRadio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue continue to spread the word about joinetradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at joinetradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on joinetradio.com.
David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub and Rib Nuts. Go to ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com right now, and stock up on the best dry marinades for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats. 3 great flavors, hot and spicy, original, and scorching. Try them at your next cookout and you will shout, bake it, grill it, shake it, oh yeah! Only one place to get Coleman's Dynamic products, that's ribrub.com. Easy to order and I'll ship direct to you or to friends and family anywhere in the United States. While on the site, be sure to check out other great items, especially the rib nuts. Who'd have thunk it? Peanuts sauteed in a barbecue marinade? That's just crazy good. Get them at ribrub.com right now, along with other great recipes. That's ribrub.com. If you don't like my rib rub or rib nuts, I'll give you money back. Do it today. That's Coleman's Dynamic Products at ribrub.com.
Listen! Did you miss Dr. Ernest Gill from UT San Antonio?
When you're making $455 million off these student athletes, and all you can come up with is $5,000, John Calipari makes $8 million a year, and his players are going to get $5,000 a year. The majority of these teams were white men and white males and females. Would this be happening? And I would say no, because their families wouldn't let it happen. But we're letting our kids get pimped.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on joinetradio.com.
Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at ribrub.com. Coleman's Dynamic Pepper Juice is lighting fires around the country. It's the new product from ribrub.com. Use it on meats and vegetables. Add it to your gumbos and greens for an extra punch. Made with all natural ingredients, Coleman's Dynamic Pepper Juice will enhance the flavors of your favorite recipes. Order today on ribrub.com. And while there, be sure to check out some of our other great products. It's developed with love and care using the best all-natural ingredients with no GMOs or preservatives. From snacks to seasonings, Coleman's Dynamic Products has something for everyone. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at ribrub.com.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found SkinTentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
SkinTentional.com?
Yes. SkinTentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products, but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, SkinTentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils, and yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to SkinTentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. SkinTentional.com.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
A sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those rib nuts.
Yeah, we do have it all and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. A lot of stuff to talk about today. Of course, we've been recapping the news that we got over the weekend. Look, we were going to talk about the Republican National Convention and the people wearing the maxi pads on their ears, but there's been some breaking news, and the news is that Joe Biden is stepping aside from the race. He is passing the mantle to Kamala Harris, and let's see what happens. It certainly was a call by a lot of people who felt like Joe Biden should step out of the race. He's 81 years old. Many people were saying that, hey, he's too old to run for president. This was one of the mantras that the MAGA crowd was using as well. It still boggled my mind as to why other people weren't pointing the same fingers at Donald Trump. Well, if just because Biden is 3 years older than you, you're still, oops, I didn't mean to say that, but you're still, I'll beep that out. You're still 78 years old yourself. You're too old. So this hour, I'm going to talk a lot about it. Certainly this section, I'm going to talk about why Kamala Harris can win this race. Okay? Because it's important. Look, at the end of the day, as I've told you all over and over again, this is really about democracy. Democracy is untrial right here. And it's not about Democrats. It's not about Rethuglicans. It's about democracy. Do we want our country to be the same that it's been? Look, I tell you over and over again, particularly from a black man's point of view, America has not been that great for me as a black man. This country is hard on a black man. It's hard, period. But it's hard being a black man in America. This country has not been great for black families. This country has not been great for black education. This country has not been great for black upward mobility and reparations. But you know what? As I've gotten to know more and more people as I live here in the DMV, many of them who are immigrants, many of them who don't even have visas, how they sacrifice to simply come to America. And every time I hear Donald Trump say, well, these immigrants have killed 100,000 Americans, which is a damn lie. And when I know I don't know a grand swath of immigrants, but I've got to meet quite a few. And they are delightful people. It doesn't matter, it really doesn't even matter where they're from. It doesn't matter if they're from Africa. It doesn't matter if they're from South America, Central America, Canada. All of the ones that I've met have been great people. Okay? And the question is, and that's just one of many. Look, I've told you, I don't want the government in my bedroom. I've told you my feelings about abortion. It has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with me as a father. But at the end of the day, do I support women being able to have an abortion if necessary? If there's a young lady who is raped by her cousin or her uncle or some man on the street, does she not have the right to get rid of that child? And who says she doesn't? And why would anyone in their right mind make a young girl carry that child to term? She's 12, 13 years old. There's going to be enough trauma in her life. Come on, man. What kind of Christians these people think they are? This vote, as I've been saying for the last year, is not about the candidate. Even when they were talking about Joe Biden being too old, my argument was, look, it ain't really about Joe Biden at this point. It's about democracy. We did a show last week about Project 2025, and we exposed some of the things that they're going to do. They're going to take your free lunch for your kids. Okay? They're going to cut your housing subsidies. All of that stuff is going to be cut. They're going to cut your health insurance. They're going to allow robber barons in the pharmacy industry to raise the rates where many of you will die. They don't understand that many of their people will die as well. And there are less white people being born in America today than it is any other race of people. You know, what I've told you all over and over again, this whole argument is about what? It's about 2024. This is why they don't want immigrants coming in America. This is why they want to outlaw abortion so they can have as many white babies as they could. If they could, they would outlaw black women. They would say black women can have as many abortions as possible. And they would make white women say, you got to have your babies. They can't do that. So the question is, Joe Biden's out of the race now. Where do Democrats go from here? Well, you go right there to Kamala Harris, as I talked a little bit last hour. Here's why, one of the reasons that I think she could win. Here's one of her main arguments. Donald Trump is too old to be president. Boom. Boom, shaka-laka, laka, boom. If Joe Biden was too old to be president, and now he stepped aside understanding that he's too old to be president, Donald Trump needs to do the same damn thing. And Kamala Harris's campaign and the people that are working with her, that needs to be on every placard. That should be on every board across the country. You're too old. Sorry, we respect you. Well, I don't respect your ass. But he's too old to be president. Just listen to some of his speeches. It's a rambling mess of gobbledygook. That's all it is. If you listen to his acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention, a rambling bunch of gobbledygook. That's it. So Kamala Harris, one of the things that she should be able to do is say, hey, Donald Trump is too old to be president. If my president, Joe Biden, admits that he's too old, then Donald Trump is the same. That's what her argument should be. How are they going to get around it? Now the national media can't focus on Joe Biden being too old because Joe Biden is no longer in the race. There's only one other person in the race is 77 years old, and that person is the Republican nominee, Donald Trump. The question should be, by all news media, when you get a chance to talk to him, should you resign now that Biden, he was 81 years old, he was doing what was best for the country, should you resign? You're too old to be president. And that should be one of Kamala Harris's campaign slogans. If Biden was too old, what is Trump? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? You know, somebody walks up to you and says, you know, back in the day when you were a kid, they'd say, man, you got a big head. I know you do, but what do I have? And they look at you like, or you're ugly. I know you are, but what am I? And they look at you like, that's just that quick reverse psychology that we did as kids. Same thing that Kamala Harris needs to do to Donald Trump. Now, at the end of the day, what needs to happen right now is, number one, Democrats need to coalesce behind their potential nominee, which is Kamala Harris. There's not going to be anyone else that's going to garner the votes that Kamala Harris is going to garner. Here's why. Because Kamala has over 1 million people that are going to support her 100%, theoretically. You know who they are? They're called Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Hello? That's some real stuff right there. I didn't know this. They said they've got over 100. They've got over 1 million members in their sorority. All right. And you know what else is going to happen? Is that their sisters, Delta Sigma Theta, they're going to support her too, because she's not a Sarah, but she's a Sarah, whatever. I don't know what you call it. So there's probably a million deltas out there too. Woo. This is how Kamala Harris beats Donald Trump. So you need to coalesce behind Kamala Harris right now. If the Democrats ought to be meeting tonight in closed door sessions, said, okay, look, we need to come out with a statement, no hands down, we're going to support Kamala Harris. Period. End of story. Here's the other group. All of a sudden, a whole lot of women that's going to support Kamala Harris. Hello? You know why? Because she's a woman. And women, this is the year of the woman. Okay? So women are going to vote for her just because they want to see a female as a president of the United States. It has never happened. A whole lot of people voted for Barack Obama who had never voted before because they wanted to see a black man be the president of the United States. The same thing is going to happen to Kamala Harris, even at this late date. The same thing. So you got to coalesce behind her. She's got 1 to 1.5 to 2 million women, black women, who's going to fight like hell to get her campaign off the ground and get it rolling and win this election. You throw in the other women, white women, who hate the Republican Party, who are feminists, who are going to vote for Kamala Harris. And here's the other thing. Remember I told you earlier in the show that in talking to my son and talking about Biden, one of the things that he stressed is that Biden was simply too old. And a lot of his friends were saying the same thing. My son is 31. All of a sudden now, Kamala Harris brings in the youth vote again. All of a sudden, she brings that to the table. Okay? This is why she can win this race. Here's the other thing I'm going to tell you. If I'm Kamala Harris, I want to debate Donald Trump. I want to debate Donald Trump. Let's schedule a debate. From what I understand, there was another debate scheduled in September. Donald Trump has already been out on his media platform saying he's not going to go to that debate. You know what? He probably doesn't need to go to that debate. And it's not why you think. In fact, I will tell you he'd be a damn fool if he debated Kamala Harris. Remember what I said about Patty Murray? Remember what she said earlier? She said that she's the perfect woman to prosecute. Remember that quote? The reason she's the perfect woman to prosecute is because Kamala Harris is a former prosecuting attorney. This woman will have her ducks in a row. As a matter of fact, there was debate whether or not J.D. Vance wanted to debate her. This woman will have her ducks in a row. I truly believe that she will not allow Donald Trump to stand up there and lie through his teeth. I truly believe that she will be prepared, overly prepared, and ready to take the fight to him. Because that's what you have to do. You have to call a liar to his face and have him or make him or her prove their point. Other than saying, well, you know it's true, or I think, no, what are your facts? A prosecuting attorney will come with facts, and she'll know. She'll be prepared for the lies that Donald Trump would try to tell in this next debate. So if you're Donald Trump, you don't want to debate Kamala Harris. You just don't. You don't want to debate Kamala Harris. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how this goes. You got a campaign slogan. At least it's one attack version, which is Donald Trump is too old to be president. That's one. You got close to 2 million black women that's going to coalesce behind your campaign. You're bringing the younger voters back. The argument cannot be made. Look, you heard so many young voters say, well, but they're both too old. So guess what now? The Republican Party should be crapping in their pants right now. Because all of a sudden, those young people that were saying, I'm not going to vote because both of them are too old, all of a sudden now, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump because he's too old. Hello? Here's the other interesting thing about this. Because I've thought of, when the news broke, there are a lot of things that went through my head. One of the problems that we have right now in the country is the Supreme Court of the United States. Would you agree with that? I think most would. The Supreme Court is out of hand. They need to be reined in. And the only way, there are a couple of things that you can do to do that. You can impeach justices, but you have to have a certain majority in the Senate to do that. And y'all can correct me on my constitutional law if you want. But either way, you can impeach them. That's not going to happen with 60 votes. Okay? Because the Democrats don't have 60 votes. You can expand the court. Kamala Harris has been open to expanding the court from what I understand. Joe Biden was a traditionalist. He didn't believe and didn't want to expand the court, but Kamala Harris has been open from what I understand. The other thing, and what I mean by expanding the court, what did they say? They talked about adding the 13 judicial districts around the nation. So they've talked about adding up to 13 justices, which I think that makes sense. That gives you a fairly good representation from 13 different jurisdictions around the country. I think that's a good idea. Now, whether or not that'll happen, I don't know, but I think it's a good idea. But here's the other fascinating thing about this. If Kamala Harris wins, potentially the Democrats will control the White House for the next, potentially now, because if she wins, then she has to win another election. So potentially 12 years. And there are expectations that 2 to 3 justices are or will retire. Boom. This is why this is so huge. It is huge. All of this stuff, when I heard this news, went through my head and I was like, wow. Wow. This could really happen. So here we are. We're sitting here wondering, Kamala Harris can win this election. She can win this election. And I'm fascinated because we're going to see how white people react to Kamala as president. Right now, MAGA has to be crapping their pants, man. All of a sudden, they're on the defensive. Last week, I heard reports from the Republican National Convention that they were almost giddy. It was almost happenstance that they were going to win this election. They thought it was over. Joe Biden was slipping in the polls. There was nothing. He was taking on water left and right. Democrats was attacking him. He just got COVID. He had a terrible debate. All the tea leaves pointed towards the Republicans and Donald Trump winning this election. That just went out the window this past weekend. Pew! It's gone. It just went out the window. And right now, How do you attack Kamala Harris? Because right now, Kamala Harris has a major attack line, and that is, girls and boys, Donald Trump is too old to be president of the United States. I've posted that on my wall. Let's make it go viral. Donald Trump is too old to be president of the United States. If that argument was good enough for Joe Biden, then it is good enough for Donald Trump. Shouldn't the Republican Party be looking to remove Donald Trump and replace him with someone else? Yeah. I think so. I think so. So let's see what happens. It's going to be fun. Man, we got a lot more to talk about when we get back. Because I want to talk about the black vote when we return. By the way, Tennessee State is going to be here in the DMV to play Howard in October. Yeah, you know I'm about to get some tickets. You know I got to be there. Okay. But how will this affect the black vote now? Y'all remember what happened with Obama. Black people voted. There were black people voting who had never voted before. Because I want to see a black man win the election. After the break, we're going to talk a little bit about how I think black people are going to respond to this. We've already talked a little bit about the sororities. But I'm already on Facebook and I'm seeing people post, I'm with her, black men. I even reposted and shared it myself. I'm with Kamala Harris. I'm not a Democrat. But here's what I keep telling you. I'm not necessarily voting for Democrats. I'm voting for democracy. And the Republicans have told us what's going to happen if they take control of our country. We've already seen it. Every time the Republicans, go back in history, every time the Republicans are in the White House and they control the Senate, this country goes to hell in a handbasket. Because they're too busy cutting taxes for the rich people. Rich people are not paying their fair share. And they'll come to you and lie to you and talk about, be sitting up in your community saying, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, knowing all the time that they've signed off on legislation. Or they've made backroom deals that is going to suppress your vote, who is going to stifle your income. I saw some report the other day on Project 25 where they were talking about if in fact they win, one of the things that they're going to stop is overtime. Right now, if you know, in America, and by the way, they're going to go after the unions. There was another one where the Heritage Foundation, if you make donations to the Heritage Foundation, it's tax deductible. Man, it's crazy. So they're already planning to destroy this country and make it into an oligarchy where only rich people can survive in America. This is why it's important for you to talk to your young people. I told you last week that you need to sit down with your friends. Simply Google Project 25, and I said your friends, but your friends and family. Those of you who are like minded, and talk about Project 2025. Because as I started this phrase, what's going to happen if in fact they win as it relates to overtime will not exist anymore. You will be paid straight wage. You will not have overtime anymore. Y'all better wake up. Y'all better wake up. This is some real stuff that's going on here, folks. And many of you all are absent without leave. We got to take a break. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RealBrub.com. Holman's Dynamic Pepper Juice is lighting fires around the country. It's the new product from RealBrub.com. Use it on meats and vegetables. Add it to your gumbos and greens for an extra punch. Made with all natural ingredients, Coleman's Dynamic Pepper Juice will enhance the flavors of your favorite recipes. Order today on RealBrub.com. And while there, be sure to check out some of our other great products. It's developed with love and care using the best all-natural ingredients with no GMOs or preservatives. From snacks to seasonings, Coleman's Dynamic Products has something for everyone. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RealBrub.com.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found SkinTentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
SkinTentional.com?
Yes. SkinTentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products, but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, SkinTentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils, and yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to SkinTentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. SkinTentional.com.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
A sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those rib nuts.
Yeah, we do have it all and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. We've certainly been talking about Biden stepping aside as the nominee for the Democrats, the presidential race, Kamala Harris taking over that spot. We talked a little bit about if Kamala Harris can win. And I want to talk a little bit this segment about the black vote. I also want to make sure that you understand that coming up in the last segment, as we do every show, is what we must do. If you'd like to sponsor that segment, give me a call at 615-554-0568. Also, this show will be uploaded to YouTube about 12:15 on Monday, so that you can listen to the show if you miss any part of the show. So I want to talk a little bit this segment about, and this is still part of whether or not Kamala Harris can win this race. And at this late date, I think she can. And I think there is a significant portion of people who will assist in doing this. And those Republicans who were running around suggesting that black people were now going to the Republican Party, you just swallowed your tongue. Number one, that wasn't happening. That was a lie, just like everything else that comes out of the Trump campaign, even though he has black people out there propagating these lies. At the end of the day, black people were not flocking to the Republican Party. So here's what's gonna, I think, really affect Kamala Harris. The AKAs. Her sorority. Dude, you don't look. Here's the one thing about sororities, black sororities. White sororities are not like black sororities. When they say it's a sisterhood, it's a sisterhood. And them sisters be getting down with the get down. They about business. Okay? Look, I'm not in a fraternity. Never really had the desire to be in one, but I got to take my hats off to what some of them do. And I will tell you that the AKAs are bad. And I didn't know that there was 1 million strong. You don't think they're not gonna get behind Kamala Harris? Can you imagine? Just think about this from this perspective. One AKA of voting age, which they all are of voting age because you have to be in college to be an AKA. So that means you're 18. Just think about all of them folks registered to vote. And then think about how they're going to prosecute the case to their families. So let's say each one of them has 3 family members. It's 1 million of them, and then each one of them prosecutes the case to their family members. So now you got 4 million votes. Hello? You don't think that they want their Sarah to be the first female president of the United States? That may sound simplistic to you, but I'm telling you, these sororities and fraternities are loyal to one another, particularly the black ones. This is why the Republican Party is concerned. They may not pretend they may not say they are, and they'll pretend that, oh, everything is hunky-dory, we're going to be there, no, y'all are concerned. Because I guarantee you, Donald Trump doesn't have just a group of about 4 million people that could potentially vote for him. The AKAs and their family. Let's say, let's be conservative. Let's say it's just one family member. Hello? Let's just say it's one family member. So that's 2 million. The 1 million AKAs plus the 1 million family members. You get what I'm saying here? That's why this is huge. This is a game changer. Okay? Now, I said the AKAs. There are at least 1 million Deltas out there. You don't think the Deltas are going to support this AKA woman? Yeah. She's not their Sarah, but she's still a member of the Divine Nine. So now you got the Deltas. You got the Zetas. All of these women are going to coalesce around Kamala Harris. I'm telling you, folks. This is why I tell you she can win this race very easily. In fact, she could walk the dog on Donald Trump. All of these women. This is a majority. Look, black women vote more than any other ethnic group. Now, the numbers are not that huge, but every year black women prove that they stand up at the polls, folks. So here we are. We're ready. We're going to get behind Kamala Harris. This is why the Democrats cannot take the chance on nominating some other white man. If they do that, they lose black women and the black vote forever. Because black folks don't forget easily. That they've got memories like an elephant when it comes to voting. So the Democrats have no choice. We don't want to see Gavin Newsom. Look, I think Gavin Newsom is a great guy. I love him. But right now, the only nominee that you need to be putting forward right now is Kamala Harris. Period. End of story. That's just it. Because she's going to have all of these black women behind her. And you know what's going to happen? See, what we don't realize is that those black sororities are going to draw those black fraternities. And there's going to be quite a few black men who are in fraternities who's going to be working their ass off for Kamala Harris. The same as what happened with Obama. Now, don't give me this argument, well, we don't follow Kamala because, she married to a white. Shut up. Who cares who she's married to? She don't identify as a black woman. Hey, what? She went to Howard. She's in a black fraternity. How the hell do you say she don't identify as a black woman? Well, you know what she did with them mothers in Northern California? Huh? Donald Trump is going to wreck this country. You're not going to even have a voice. And you worried about what Kamala Harris did as a prosecuting attorney who's trying to make mothers get their kids to school? Is that what I understand here? Well, let me just tell you this, that if Donald Trump wins the election, that means Project 2025 will go into effect. And since you're concerned about schools, here's what's going to happen to your public school, the schools that your kids go to. They're going to no longer exist. They're going to be drained of their resources, and your tax dollars will be going to vouchers. So white kids can go for private schools. But you're concerned about Kamala Harris? So, you black folks need to wake up. The black vote is real. Now here's the other thing. There are a whole lot of black women out there who are going to vote for Kamala Harris, who's not even in the sorority because she's a black woman. And they want to see a black woman be successful. That's look, and you know what? Their husbands are going to do the same. This is Barack Obama 2.0. The husbands are going to do the same. So a lot of those black women who are not in that sorority, who is not an AKA, may not even know what an AKA is. But you know what? They're going to go into that ballot box and they're going to say, hey, why not? We done had these men all these years. Look what we got. I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Hello? Wow. And you know what? A lot of white women are going to do that very same thing. They're going to vote for Kamala Harris because they want to see a woman in the White House. And this may be the closest that they'll ever get, at least in the next few years. They don't like Donald Trump. They don't like what his policies are. So, and by the way, he's too old. So let's vote Kamala Harris. See, the other part of that black vote is the young black voters. The ones like my daughter who's 37 and my son who's 31. My daughter's already talking about volunteering for Kamala Harris. She's not in a sorority or a fraternity. Okay? My son, who I spoke about earlier in the show, who was concerned that Kamala is too old. Joe Biden was too old. Now that argument goes out the window. It goes out the window with a lot of people at this point. A lot of young people who were saying, we're not going to vote because they're too old. I don't like either one. Now what happens is, hey, where there's one candidate that's too old, so those young black voters are going to, especially, if nothing else, cast a ballot for Kamala Harris. And rightfully so. It's going to be fascinating, man. There's a lot of stuff that is still yet to play out here. So, and here's the other thing. Now you got the AFL-CIO, you got all these unions. Look, I talked earlier about the feminists last hour who are going to get behind, you would think that they're going to get behind Kamala Harris. There are women all over this country who are sick of men ruling and governing. It's time for women to take their place. They believe that. Here is that first step. And that step is Kamala Harris. As I said earlier, the Republican Party should be crapping in their pants. This is not what they wanted. They had it made in the shade, as we used to say back in the day. Had it made in the shade. Joe Biden couldn't finish a sentence. He was old. He got COVID. We've proven our point that he's too old. We've focused on his age. We've not let people focus on the age of our Republican candidate. We got it made in the shade, and all of a sudden Joe says, "Hey, you know what? Y'all right. Man, I can't fight all y'all. I'm 81 years old. I got COVID. I've done. Hey, at one point I had already said that I was only going to serve one term. So okay, y'all can have this. I'm going back to where I came from and deal with my pain and suffering of my son going to prison. One has died. You know, I don't need this at 81." And boom, he's gone. He's gone. And now we got Kamala Harris. And Republicans don't want this. Okay? They done messed around and found out. I don't know, I'm sorry. I just thought of a video that I saw on Facebook about this guy who walks up to this truck. Apparently it was a road rage incident, and he gets out of his car and he walks up to this truck and he starts banging on the window, and he actually has a pistol in his hand. And before he knew it, well, apparently he did know it, the guy in the truck had a pistol as well. He dropped him with 3 shots. Self-defense. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Y'all better learn, and y'all done, the Republicans are about to get dropped with 3 shots. Sororities, women, and young black voters. Okay? Because when I say sororities, that means the black vote. The feminists, because they just, this abortion thing, and by the way, you know, in the Republican National Convention, they didn't even mention abortion last week. They know they're taking on water with this, and they were being saved by the age question with Joe Biden. That doesn't exist anymore. They are in trouble. And they know it. They know it. This is going to be fun. Tell you what, we need to take our last break of the show. When we come back is what we must do. You're listening to Black Focus Radio on it's our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found SkinTentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
SkinTentional.com?
Yes. SkinTentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, SkinTentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils. And yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to SkinTentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. SkinTentional.com.
Business owner, can I talk to you for a moment? How many people have come up to you and said, "Hey, I didn't know you had a business"? Yeah, that can happen when you don't advertise. I have a solution for you. Advertise on joynetradio.com and let the world know that you're in business. I know what you're thinking. Advertising is so expensive. I've got a great package for you that will cut your expense and increase your bottom line. It's only $125 for startup and new businesses. Call me, David W. Coleman, at 615-554-0568, and I'll put together a package specifically for your business.
Now is the time to tell the world, hey, I'm in business. Come spend your money on quality goods in my store. Let us help you at joinedradio.com. Here's the number. Call me 615-554-0568. We are here to assist you in building your brand.
Coleman's Dynamic Products would like to thank you for all the support you've given us over the years. Our growth could not have happened without your purchases and word of mouth to your friends and family. That says you believe and trust us to provide Coleman's Dynamic Products with no fillers and all natural ingredients. We began with our flagship product, Rib Rub, and now it has expanded into snacks, seasonings, salts, rib juice, and pepper juice. We could not have done it without you. I'm David W. Coleman, founder and president, and I want to personally thank you for the encouraging words and support. Coleman's Dynamic Products will continue to be the best dry marinades, seasonings, and sauces you've ever put in your mouth. That's ribrub.com, RIBBRUBB. And you know what we like to say, bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. In this segment, if you've listened to the show, I coined this phrase, what we must do. We've been talking about what we must do this segment for, it's been close to 3 years now. I thought it was important that we encapsulate some of the things that we have to start talking about, and we as a black community have to start doing. We've talked about economics, we've talked about all kinds of things, supporting one another, researching, fighting for your schools, but over the last few weeks I've been talking about voting. And what we must do is vote. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There is no question about it. We must vote. And if nothing has become more apparent yet than what we've seen this weekend with now Kamala Harris is going to be the heir apparent to the White House. It's time for us to show them the power of our vote. It's time for them to realize that, okay, you can talk all the noise you want, but at the end of the day, we're going to go out to the polls en masse and wipe you out. Either you come along in the 21st century peacefully, or we're going to drag your asses into the 21st century, kicking and screaming. We don't give a damn about your racism anymore. We don't give a damn about your bigotry anymore. This is America, and we're not sorry that the browning of America is making you unconscionable. It's making you nervous. If you did anything genetically or studied, you would have known this was coming, but you were so arrogant, you didn't believe, you thought the white man was always going to be superior. And it disturbs you to know that you just like the brown man, trying to make a living every day. And your white skin does not afford you any privilege whatsoever. You see, what we must do is understand our stance, understand our place in American history, understand our place in the days coming ahead, and especially on November the 6th, as we begin to change this country for the better, not to push it back into the 60s and the Jim Crow era, which is what Project 2025 wants to do. You see, what we must do is start looking at this document and understanding that the people who would construct this document has no goodwill towards people like you and I. We have to begin to understand that there are forces afoot that hate black people, that hate women. There are forces afoot who simply want to control a resource and make billions and trillions of dollars and not share the wealth, even though those billions and trillions were helped earned on the backs of poor people. We have to begin to understand that. It's long overdue. I shouldn't say we have to begin. It's long overdue that we realize that we are truly the masters of our fate. And that control is as simple as voting. Hello? What are you willing to do to save democracy? You see, I'm thinking about the movie Red Dawn. Y'all remember that movie? It's been a remake. I didn't realize they did a remake, but I saw bits and pieces. I hated the movie. It was kind of corny. But really what it was about the Russians had finally invaded America and had taken over America. And there was a ragtag group of vigilantes, American vigilantes, who fought the Russians tooth and nail. We're at that point. The oligarchs are about to take over America. What would you do to save America? Would you take up guns? Would you do that to save America? Well, maybe, but what I submit to you is that you really don't need to do that. All you need to do is, guess what? Go to the ballot box and vote. That's all. And in this particular case, the case for voting is clear. It's not even about voting for a person. Even though I knew Biden was in trouble, I was still going to vote for him. You know why? Because there's really only one issue on the ballot this year. There's only one issue on the ballot this year, and it's democracy. It's democracy. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about doing some shirts. There's one issue on the ballot this year: democracy. And if you think that you will benefit from a Republican Party winning this election, then you better go read Project 2025. You better quit burying your head in the sand, because you're going to choke on that sand as it runs up your nostrils. You see, what we must do is simple. It's not hard. It takes a few minutes out of your day. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you have to stand in line. Because would you stand in line for democracy? What would you do? The question is, what would you do for democracy? Would you stand in line in the heat and the rain for democracy? Would you take a friend with you to vote with you for democracy? Will you be willing to go out and canvass and talk to your friends and neighbors about democracy? Not Republican or Democrat, just democracy. Because at the end of the day, if the Republicans win and Project 2025 becomes real, you'll be saying, I should have went and talked to Dave about democracy. I should have went and talked to my neighbor about democracy. I should have went and talked to my friend about democracy. But it'll be too late then, because democracy as we know it will be gone. The Republican Party is telling you that they're going to destroy democracy. They don't care. Do you? That's the question. That's the question. So what we must do is simple. Is on November 6th, we need to make a beeline to the polls. And we need to not just go by ourselves. We We need to take our friends. We need to take our friends. Okay? We need to take our relatives. We need to take our homeboy. And then if you have the time, carpool. Use your car to take people to the polls. That's what we must do. We must stand up for democracy and pulling the right lever, pushing the correct button. And that button is only for one. It's not for Kamala Harris. It's for democracy. We got to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on joynetradio.com.